So the other big thing that just came out was Mario Tennis, right? And this game, first of all, bit overpriced for sure. So being from Canada, you're literally paying $100 for Switch 2 games now. So if you're paying $100 for a game, which honestly already is just absolutely unbelievable, but I think if you are trying to get into the Switch 2 ecosystem, you have to deal with that, which is annoying. But what I've seen differently for Switch 2 versus Switch 1 was in terms of pricing. A lot of the games for Switch 1 are like 10 years old and they just have not come down in price. What I've noticed with Switch 2 games, there's been some places like Costco which within like 2 3 months have dropped their prices by like 50%. That could also be a reflection on the quality of the game. So like the Pokemon game recently was just $50, which is just crazy. Because you don't see a Pokemon game at that price, especially a Switch game, and that went down to 50% off. There's been a couple other ones. Some of the other games like Metroid Prime was cheap. It was like 30% off, 40% off, which I thought like maybe it's because like these games aren't selling as well. There's a whole issue with Metroid Prime that we can sort of get into next time. Like these games are like discounted, and I'm like maybe they're just trying to get rid of inventory. Maybe these games are not selling good enough, but at least there's space for these games to be potentially cheaper moving forward. So if there's something that you don't want to pick up right away, uh, but that sort of brings up an issue with Mario Tennis, for example, because this game, its longevity is based on its online community, and if you're charging people $100 up front, there's a lot of people who might not be interested in that right away because it is so expensive. Um, but one thing I will say is this is actually a really good game. It's a really solid game. The mechanics, everything for a Mario sports game, it is unbelievable. Both to play with just like your friends as a party game, but also to play online. So I've never been hooked since I would say like Arc Raiders for an online game. So this to me has just been such a fun time because the whole point of the online is basically you have different ranks. So you're playing ranked, and then you move up those ranks basically depending on your performance and how you're doing. So with this, the rank system is like pretty straightforward, but it gets you into a game almost immediately. So like you start playing a game, and then you just as soon as you finish the game, it gives you the option to select to go into another game. So you're just put into another game immediately. There's no time wasted. So like you just kind of get hooked in the loop. And there's been times where I've been playing for like an hour, and I'm like, I'll just get into more games. And then I check the time, and it's like there's 2 hours past, and I keep going because you keep wanting to move up those ranks and keep getting better. And then the best part about this game is that there's these fever rackets. So 1 second, let me just find a video of these fever rackets right here. So basically, there's these fever rackets that they include, um, which is what is new with the game. And these fever rackets sort of give like you a power up, kind of like in Mario Kart, where like one racket can give you something like a fireball that you can throw, another one throws a bullet bill. Once again, also like in Mario Kart. Um, so if you see like let me pull up a video on this to show sort of a demonstration. There we go. So as you can see, there's like let's see here. Yeah. So there'll be like a mini mushroom racket, for example, right? The video's gonna load here. Yeah, there we go. So if you can see here, if he's gonna actually use the power up, there we go. So there you use the power up right there. And you see like these mushrooms being scattered around. And that just makes if the opponent picks one of those mushrooms up, it just makes them super tiny. See, look, Bowser's just like a tiny little mouse now. And that's just hilarious because like you know, you got to kind of play those power ups, same like Mario Kart. So it just adds so much in terms of variety, where like, you could test out these different fever rackets. There's other ones too. There's my favorite, if I can find it. There's so many. Like I said, there's over 30 rackets, so it's going to be difficult to find the exact one in this video. This is actually a good example right here. So there's a shadow racket here. And if you see the shadow racket, it makes a clone of you, just like this. So now you basically have a computer that plays with you. And it just makes everything so fast paced and so interesting in that aspect and gives the game a lot of variety. So if you have friends to play with, it's incredible. But then the online aspect is also really good because it adds either just the normal tennis or it adds sort of this new fever racket mechanic. So great game. I'm still playing that. My goal is to play this as much as possible. I don't kind of want to hop in other games besides like Ark that I can play on stream because I'm concerned the online community is gonna drop really quickly. So I want to get as much game as possible. The other issue with Nintendo is they just their online support is extremely poor. So, for example, the doubles option in this game, so the option to play doubles online, you play with random, like you play with randos, which is like extremely annoying because like you can't coordinate. There's no voice chat obviously because it's Nintendo, and you can't play with friends essentially. And the whole point of doubles kind of disappears because you have no coordination, no communication. You can't choose one character that perhaps would have a strength in one area versus your other teammate would have a strength in a different area, and then both you can sort of simultaneously figure out what needs improvement, what doesn't. So all that combined just makes things so much more interesting. But like I said, the online support once again, Nintendo really needs to pick up their slack with that because like it's really poorly done. So there's got to be with these online games that are gonna come out, like there's just so much fun and they have worked on the actual gameplay so well, but the fact that they just can't figure out the online support, and apparently in a update today, apparently, um, allegedly, I'm not 100% sure, but they removed the option for basically being matched. So it's auto match made. You can't really select the region, but they removed the option to basically be matched with people from other regions. So it's only locked to your own region, meaning that it decreases the amount of people you can match with. So if there's a smaller player count there, just because you're locked to your own region, now it just reduces the entire community of people that can play together, which is just like what are we doing? Like, come on. So, it's all these annoying things that Nintendo does, which I feel like really harms their games when it's literally such a good game. And like it's games like these that can go like viral online, and that's how these games can eventually get really big. Um and it's frustrating because like that just can build longevity. Stuff goes viral online, people see it, people start buying into it, even if it's expensive. Unfortunately, that's the case because clearly people buy Nintendo games even though they're overly priced. But you'll have more people possibly hopping into that just because, you know, excuse me, just because, there are other people playing, and that automatically entices people to play as well. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. Gonna continue playing that. I'll give you guys an update later as to how if the online support drops significantly in terms of people playing online, because they do have two other games that are coming out. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.